Welcome to Tell Your Story 2023. I am author Consuela Meehan, and today I have a special guest. I have been doing a series since 2020 called Tell Your Story, but today, not only am I inviting an author to the platform, but he's also, I call a series within a series called My Blended Family, that I created a cartoon that touches on kids that may be different or they may feel different growing up. It discusses bullying, kids with special needs, disorders, and disabilities. And this author today, he is coming on to discuss both his books and his speaking work that he is doing and all the inspiration that he is spreading around social media. Thank you, James, so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to everybody.
Well, thank you for having me, and finally got to connect, and inviting me on your wonderful platform. Yeah, my name is James Mcleod. I'm based out of New York. I'm based out of New York City, formerly raised in Peekskill, New York. I am a two-time children's book author, The Boy Behind the Face and My Daily Superpowers. I am a DJ. I am a motivational speaker. I am a personal trainer. I am a model. I am an up-and-coming actor. But, most importantly, my mission is to change the world, to make the world a better place. So I strive every single day to be the change that I want to see in the world, and I'm becoming a successful entrepreneur in X, Y, and Z. I just do so many different things. It's just kind of hard to display them all in one thing, but I'm pretty sure you can pull a lot out of me after we get this conversation going,
Absolutely. You are
Yeah.
a jack of all trades. You have a lot of
Yeah.
stuff to talk about today. What I absolutely loved, I came across your TikTok. And then I started to follow you on Instagram, and I was thinking to myself, I hope that he replies to me, because I would love to have him on my platform, because one of the main characters on the cartoon has vitiligo. And Corinne is a character. And I'm so happy that you're writing about this. Growing up, how was that like for you? Because there is not a lot of representation for kids. And you're speaking to kids. How was that like growing up for you?
That's a great question. For me, growing up with vitiligo, no one really seen vitiligo, because I developed vitiligo as a baby in the 80s. It was no conversations around it. I grew up in a small city, Peekskill, New York, and there was no one who looks like me. No one can explain vitiligo. And I remember when I first developed vitiligo at the age of 18 months old, and my mother didn't have a clue what it was. She just thought it was a tiny pimple that was just forming on top of my forehead. And I remember her taking me to my physician, and he didn't understand. He didn't know what it was. And then it just started to sporadically just spread overnight, and it just started to depigment, just white, like. And then one of the doctors was telling my mom it's forming vitiligo. And we try to figure out who we can go see for the vitiligo and stuff like that. We had to go see a specialist, which was a dermatologist, and they had treatment options back then. It was called like laser light treatment. And the light treatment, you sit under like a fluorescent light, and it's supposed to bring the shade back to your melatonin. And we kind of passed on that option. We just kind of grew up and said it was a birthmark or a beauty mark, especially in the community. And for me, it was a challenge, because I didn't see no one who actually looked like me, first of all. And then kids would make fun of me. Adults would actually stare. Adults would actually have the heart and the courage to even ask my mom, what's wrong with your kid, and stuff like that. So for me, it always made me sad, and always made me felt like I had this visual difference, but it always made me feel like I was invincible, because no one really pretty much accepted me for who I was. No one seen me as this little boy, or little James, as what my mom actually, named me growing up as a kid. And it was one of them things that I felt like this monster. I felt like I felt isolated. I felt like there was no acceptance, as far as just within society, but in my household, everybody accepted me for who I was because they knew who I was. But I just felt like there was a distance from society. But going to school, it was one of them things. Kids would make fun of me. Kids were always this. If you look different, if they don't see difference in their household, if the parents is not explaining it to them, what is difference or differences may look like, or what sets you apart that makes you different from the rest of the world, kids won't have a clue when they see someone else who's actually different. So kids would say mean things like, "Who erased the other side of your face? You look like a cow," or some kids would like blur, moo, like stuff like that, and it just always made me feel like I didn't feel included. But then I had my group of friends who always accepted me for who I was, and growing up for me, it has its lows and it had its highs growing up. It always had its lows and highs.
Yeah, and that's why it was so important to me to do this the cartoon, because kids need to. I never explain a lot of stuff in the cartoon, but what I do is open the discussion for the parents and
Mhm.
for the children to be educated, because it is important for them. We are not living in a society, and we never were, where there is a such thing as perfection. We were given something what they felt like the standard of people should look like.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that is not reality at all. And there is, whether, and for me personally, you cannot see it, but I have a huge birthmark on the back of my leg. And I used to not want to wear shorts, skirts. I'm very light skinned, and I have a really big brown, huge on my calf. And I had guys in high school, they would be like, "Oh, I don't wanna touch your leg. Like, if we go out, what I mean, I'm like, it's my birthmark. It's not that serious." And so my mom, she had offers to have it removed when I was younger. Now, I see a dermatologist, so they check it for skin cancer, but it's never been an issue. It's not going nowhere. It's a part of me. It is what it is. And a lot of people, they forget it's there. And so, with that being said, like, what was the point for you where you started to drown out the mean things that people would say to you, with the kids, with the adults? What point, at what age was it for you that you said, this is who I am?
It had to be around the age of 7, and it goes back to my mom telling me all the time, "You're beautiful, you're wonderful, you're God's child, and you're special, you're unique." And it's one of them things, when I step out the doors, my mom is not giving me them words of encouragement or them affirmations. So when I step out into society, I will hear, what happened to your face, every single day. And it is one day I just got tired of it. And I remember coming home from school one day and I asked my mom, "Are you telling me the truth?" And as a parent, unconditionally loving, she's like, "No, no," she said, "I'm telling you the truth. What them kids is saying is not true." And as a parent, she always reassured me. But then something really like build up inside. It's like, "James, you have to do this on your own." Because as a little boy, I didn't like to look in the mirror until this one day. I was like, you know what? My mom might be telling me what's right, but I have to fix what's going on out in the world, because what the world's telling me, I feel like it makes me uncomfortable. It makes me feel like lonely inside. So I actually decided to go look in the mirror. And when I looked in the mirror, I used to always play these games. I used to always duck or not try to look in the mirror. I used to go to the mirror like this and not look. And then one day I've had my hand like this and I looked in the mirror at the age of 7 and I heard this voice say, "Hey, if you remove your hand, I promise you love what you see." And I'm like, where's this coming from? And I remember looking in the mirror just saying, "I'm not a cow, I'm not a zebra, no one erased the other side of my face." And I just started saying all these powerful affirmations to myself, not realizing it was actually affirmation, and it was actually a form of helping me build myself up by just making that attempt and that little effort to actually look in the mirror for the first time. And it was one of them things that I actually quoted in my book. It's like, I noticed my eyes for the first time, you know, my amazing, beautiful smile. And I was different than everyone else in the whole world. And I loved it. And I felt this inner shining beauty that was shining within. But
Mhm.
I had to be brave. I had to be strong to actually look in the mirror. And from that day on, I never looked back. I never, you know, what adults said, like if adults asked me what happened, or what even kids would ask me what happened, I just kind of ignored it. And you know what? And that was like one of the first pivoting points that I actually got me over it. But one of the things that helped me was one day I went to school, and every time I go to the lunch, when I go to the cafeteria, it always felt like a bad dream. And I had to pick and choose what table I wanted to sit at. No matter what table I sat at, a kid would always ask me what happened, or they would try to make they would tease or they would make fun. And this time I decided to sit at a table with a smile on my face, not realizing that smile was like a shield, like a safety guard. And it was like no one at the table said anything mean to me. One of the kids who used to actually make fun of me, he said, "Why you are so happy today?" And I just kind of paid him no mind, ate my lunch. And I remember getting up, going back to the classroom, I get a tap on my shoulder. And the kid said, "Man, thank you." And I'm like, "Why are you thanking me for?" He said, "No one never smiled at me the way you smiled at me." See, this kid was getting bullied at home. So
Mm.
some you're going through, maybe someone else is going through. And that was like another eye opener for me that really gave me that sustainable confidence of like, yo, this is what it is. And I didn't believe it at first that smile actually was the reason why the kid actually stopped teasing me. So I decided to go home and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go smile at random strangers today. And I did just that. And hopefully they smiled back at me, and they did just that. And I did that every single day. And it was just one of them things that actually changed my life in a big, big, big way. Like, you know what? Even though I was still trying to find acceptance, but it actually gave me that relief feeling of like, it's gonna be okay.
Yep.
It's gonna be okay. Like what's on your face is on your face, just out of your control. But what's in your heart is in your heart. And at the end of the day, and I realized that I didn't ever want to be someone else. I want to be exactly as who I am and just embrace it. You know, at the age of 7, and it's just one of them things. Like, wow, like I didn't really know what it all meant at the time, but those are the feelings that I actually felt. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I say as an author, as a poet, I always say beauty is the reflection that you see in the mirror,
Hmm.
meaning that it starts with you. You are the beauty standard that you should be going against, not what
Hmm.
society feels like is the beauty standard anyway. You have to shine really from inside out, and it doesn't matter. The one message, the big message that I want to people to understand, and even kids, um, when they get a certain age, and I tell my daughter this, like, it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter your shade of skin, how big you are, skinny you are, your religious preference. It doesn't matter. People are going to talk about you. And the question is, why do you care what they say? And words can hurt. They can hurt. Sometimes they can hurt more than physical pain, because they you don't forget how that makes you feel when somebody says something to you. So this is definitely an important conversation, for self-esteem for kids. There's so many things that kids can grow up with. There is no such thing as perfection. Nowhere. And people, we live as I think I said it in another interview. We live in $1 billion beauty industry where people wear with the makeup, the hair, the eyelashes, the this and that, to try to hide scars from that are inside, of them. But until you actually do the work for self-love and self-care, you will never truly be happy with yourself. And so I found that out to be on my own healing journey. And as a single mom, the most important thing that I've taught the kids that I talk to, in my community as well. And so, what is something you would tell a child now? I know you're speaking, on all your platforms. What is the biggest message that you want to give kids, right now as they're going through different phases. We just got out of COVID. There's a lot of things going on with kids, adults, in this climate. What is the biggest thing that you want them to understand?
One, for kids, it depending on the age. My message, I try to make sure my message is broad for everyone, even adults. And as adults, we seem like we know it all. But what I find, what works with my first book, The Boy Behind the Face, even the faculties, the educators, the teachers, and adults are like, wow, thank you for that message. And what I want the kids to get out of the message, especially, going through COVID, being, revoke learning, isolated, not playing with their friends and doing certain things, might have seen certain things that was happening in the household, adversity just hitting them right away. Families didn't know how to, you know, tackle what the adversity was going on, especially being the kids are not going to school, parents might have lost their job. So kids will pick up all these things that's going on in the household. And I always say that becomes a conscience of the reflection. And first of all, a
Mhm,
lot of these kids wasn't even being taught what's important in life, your morals, your
mhm,
value, who you are as an individual at the lowest level of kindness, humanity, you know, are you a confident person? Confidence meaning believing in yourself, being a leader, thinking for yourself. A lot of these kids didn't have that, or integrity. What do you, what you doing private is important, and it's one of them things that kids don't even see themselves. But now we in a different, we in a different. I will always say we in different times now because these kids have phones, and it's a lot of
yeah,
comparison. It's a lot of
mhm,
comparison, and I always try to tell these kids, no matter what, it's always going to come within. Treat
mhm,
others the way you want to be treated. And that might sound like, okay, if this person treats me bad, I'm going to treat them bad. And it don't always have to be the same reaction. I always say you can kill them with kindness because words are powerful. And sometimes you never know who's going through what. And one of them things, the words can go with them for the rest of their life.
mhm,
Because a lot of people don't know how to start that healing journey. No, a lot of people don't know how to do self-reflection within. A lot of people don't know how to say, "Hey, it's it's not okay, but it's okay to actually be vulnerable to say, you know what, I need to get through this." A lot of people don't have the tools for
they don't.
assessment to say, even the parents don't have the tools to give these kids. A
Mhm,
lot of them come from, generational, and they blame it on generational, but you can be the one who break these patterns, these conditions, these
absolutely.
things that are rooted in you, because sometimes it's part of the DNA, but you can break these patterns. And that's one thing I learned from my healing journey. And everybody's healing journey and process look different than one another, but it's what you do in the moment. How would you
Mhm,
put these challenges in front of you? Like, how would you want to see yourself? How you speak to yourself in private is everything. How you speak to yourself to your peers is everything. Always, instead of, having this self-image of negativity thoughts and this mentality, how about turning it around and uplifting your soul, uplifting your spirit, uplifting the person you want to be every single day? Look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself these affirmations. You're kind, you're beautiful, you're wonderful, you matter, because this is very important. Nobody's going to uplift you the way you're going to uplift yourself. First of all, no one's the world. You can't wait on the world to give you your light. You have to be the light. You have to be the
yeah,
change. And what I mean by the change, you don't have to go out there and change what the world thinks of you. You can change whatever, how you feel about yourself. You can create your happiness. You can create your joy. You can uplift your spirit. And I try to not be so much as a philosophy. So every time I go do a presentation, especially if it's with, I not do it with adults too, because this is important. This is a test. And I always start off and I tell them, repeat after me, I love myself. I love myself. And we kind of build the momentum up. I love myself. And then I make them give himself a big hug and say, I love myself. And then at the end, I have them make a heart and come up and say, I love myself, because it's important how you speak to yourself, how you view yourself. And it goes back to what you say to yourself in the mirror. And that's how I encourage them, because I have to meet them where they at. A lot of them don't want to hear the talking. It's like, all right, how can I actually give self-improvement on real time while I'm here? It used to be
absolutely.
I want to impact one kid, but like now I can control the narrative, because not only I have a book that's so special, I don't mention vitiligo. I just mentioned this monster that I've seen every single day in the mirror. And there's someone always in the audience who might be wounded, who might be
Mhm,
going through the heartaches and pain, who might not have a visual difference. But
mhm,
I'm able to use my visual difference as my superpower to give those that voice and power that they need. And that's how I start. It's really not like what advice I give them. I kind of go into these tool drills that I actually try to imply to instill in them, and so they can actually not only leave the presentation, but they can actually go home and apply it, look in the mirror, find ways to actually building up their self-esteem and their confidence. But you have to tap into something, and it have to be bigger than you.
Yep.
If it's the most high, if it's God, if it's meditation, if it's the universe, like these things is deep rooted, big, and these things are bigger than you. And because identity is not easy to go through that transition. We all know what to do, but do we actually do what we need to do? No, because it's that healing process. It's not sexy. It's not what you want to go through, because now they're taking you back to traumas or childhood traumas, or whoever you are, and what experience you might have went through during that journey. So it's very important with your actions, your thought process, how you adjust your attitude, and power shifting the mindset. It's just one of these things. It's always going to be a journey. I always tell them, even though I might be who I am and I sustain and cultivate positivity, or I love myself at a high level, I don't have it all together. I'm working on my social emotional stuff every single day, and I have this slogan that I came up with called "Smile and Let Your Happy Shine." Most people put a smile on their face and for the world, but behind closed doors, they are their worst nightmare. They hate who they see in the mirror. They don't really like themselves. So I said, smile, let your happy shine, because the real self-love is having a high regard of your happiness and your well-being, and your well-being is your emotions, your actions, and how you actually feel. This is why I talk about the inner beauty within. Once you can actually learn how to do that and control that, then give the world a smile. Then you can actually feel comfortable who you are, because it causes so much confliction, because you don't really know who you are.
Yeah.
So you have to, it's one of them things that is just one of them things that I can give someone advice, but it's just one of them things I always have to go deeper into the advice and make sure it's deeper to the core, into that connection, because I need them to understand it and to feel it. Because at the same time, we talked about these kids who was isolated for 2 years, not going to school, function, and seeing all these things. These kids need more work than whatever it may be, because now you have to unlearn to relearn. So it's like when you had to unlearn and relearn, this is not no one day someone comes speak or someone just tell you something. Now I have to set up these tools in place where these kids can actually say, all right, I have to actually do the work. I can't
Yep.
run from the problem anymore,
Yep, and that's the best, one of the best points, because people will start on a healing journey, and they will, first, the first thing is recognizing that you have a something inside of you that needs to be fixed. And people, they shy away from doing the work, like you said, because the triggers start to come up, and it takes you back to a past that you want to forget, let go of. And it's not healthy just to put everything under a mat and just say, you know what, I'm gonna just leave it there, not gonna deal with it. Well, guess what? That dirt is gonna keep building up, building up, and building up until you break. And so you have to deal with the pain and any other issues that you're internally struggling with. And it starts from changing your mindset, like you said, moving forward, changing your mindset and telling yourself, hey, I'm beautiful. I can do this. It's going to be okay. And that was the whole reason I started the cartoon. And there's another, one of the other characters that I played, Danny, she has a prosthetic leg. And so there's a lot of representation that's missing in animation and for our kids. And like I said, it's not to ever I don't get into detail. There could be a lot of stuff that could come out, but as a child, I want the family to have that conversation. And so what you'll see is what you see, but it'll never
Right.
go into detail, because like I said, I want the conversation to get started. I want the parents to be able to sit with their kids and say, this is this is that. We have to make society normal by spreading love and being accepting of one another. And then so we can actually do that. Um, we're gonna have to it's not going to be a smooth society. We're going to continue to see the bullying, the internet bullying, people just going on your page so like they can say whatever they want to you publicly, or even one of the platforms I talked about, we touched on suicide shortly a little bit, and people that you, like you said, you don't know what somebody is going through. You can see their social media, they could be smiling, happy, and the next day they could be gone. And so it is important to continue to do the work on your mental health, and healing in the journey, and definitely being a motivational speaker, for you, and starting with the kids is so important because it's easier to get kids to understand things when they're young versus when you get older, you kind of set in your ways. You're like,
Yeah, and that's what I said. It's easier for me to work with kids, and because adults feel like we know it all, right? And one of
Mhm,
them things is to tell you exactly how it is, and it just goes back to the parents at actually applying these rules in the house. Most of the time, these kids' belief in how they learn who they are as a personality is from 1 to 7. What
mhm,
the household have to be compassion, empathy. They got to come in the house with a huge heart. They have to actually explain to their kids what welcoming means, acceptance means, inclusivity means. Sometimes kids live in different demographics or areas, and everybody look like them, and they don't see no one who looks different. That's what
yep,
I always tell parents: if you can introduce your kids to like what diversity looks like, not
yep,
to when they get old enough and be like, "Wow, what is this? This look different and looks foreign." It's very important how you instill that into them. And then we go back into, if you say it's not easy for someone, it's easier than said than be done when someone say, "I'm beautiful, I love myself," because it's deeper than affirmations. Because a lot of
mhm,
people don't put themselves first. A lot of
mhm,
people sacrifice themselves for others before they put themselves first. A lot of people don't know how to be kind to themselves. It's
thank
one
you.
of them things. A lot of people encourage others in that message that you actually needed for yourself. And then
Mhm,
at the end of the day, that person you might be encouraged might never encourage you because as sometimes as an adult, it's just we selfish. And at the end of
mhm,
the day, we are going through what we're going through because we don't have the courage and the strength to be open enough to actually speak about what we're going through. So it's
mhm,
very important who you tell your business to. You got to
yep,
treat your business information is very important because you have to trust people with your information, especially when you're actually going through something you
mhm,
know and it's one of them things that I try to instill in parents when I speak to them about their kiddos, because I had a lot of parents approach me during the pandemic. My daughters,
mhm,
a lot of preteen parents, self-harm, you know
mhm,
um trying to figure it out, just giving it up, not realizing what's happening in the world. The parents is not actually explaining it to them because they might be dealing with a divorce, they might be dealing with getting laid off with a job, trying to figure out during the process. So a lot of parents is not really sitting down with these children. It'd be great that the parents would sit down and actually speak to the children.
yep,
But it's one of them things that they're not having these conversations as a transparent conversation and letting them know it's real. They just nip it in the bud. Oh, that's just what it is, and that's it.
mhm,
Kind of brush it off. They're not really having a conversation about it. Like, this is what it is and it's going to be. And even especially with the schools, I see it in the schools. It depends on the leadership in the school too.
mhm,
Like, some of these teachers, they come there for a paycheck, they front line. Then there's some that really care, that really
I
want to
really
see these
can.
kids be, really want to instill the talking about the cyberbullying, the bullying, what's happening in the classrooms, how kids is actually treating each other. They really care. And then there's some people who just don't care. I see it all the time in the school because I'm actually in a position where when I do my presentation, I always open it up for discussion, Q&A, and these kids is opening up like the therapist who's in the school for these kids. They looking like, wow, I never knew this kid was going through that. Most of the
Mhm,
time, the psychiatrists and the therapists or the social worker who work at the school, they're only there for emergency calls. They're not pulling each kid out the classroom and saying, "Hey, how are you today? What's going on? Can I speak to you?" They're only there if a problem happened or a big situation happened. You know,
yeah,
so it's
absolutely. And a lot of these, we're just seeing a whole overhaul of COVID did a whole lot of things, in a lot of different ways. Um, and I hope that I just feel like as a society, we really needed to sit down and be at home with our families. Um,
mhm.
working over 40 hours a week. Some of us parents are too tired to make it to all these activities the kids have. There's kids graduating and they're by themselves. They don't have family out there supporting them at games, awards, ceremonies, and things like that. It's so many different layers with kids, and it's just so amazing. You're such a huge inspiration, not just for me, but I can tell by your speaking and everything that you're doing
Oh,
that
thank you.
you're inspiration to everybody that comes into your life, and you're just such a beautiful soul, just a beautiful person all the way around. Um, and so I want to thank you so much for taking some time out to talk to me and have this important conversation with me to educate people not only on vitiligo but beauty, overall beauty.
Yeah, and it's my pleasure. I appreciate you, and I want people to know that vitiligo is not contagious. It don't hurt. It don't wipe off. It's not. It's one of them things that it's not curable, but it's treatable. And the more and more for anyone who has a condition, it don't even have to be vitiligo because my message is bigger than vitiligo. My message is to help empower others to overcome their insecurities and fears, no matter what they may be. So whatever you might be going through, please educate yourself on it. It will make you feel a lot better because the more and more you know your condition, the more and more you know who you are, you begin on this journey to start loving yourself more and more. And whatever you might be facing, the circumstances or the situation, you won't allow it to define who you are. And that's just who I am. That vitiligo guy is all about. It's like I didn't allow my circumstances or my condition to define who I am. This is why I do so many different things. Most people would say, hey, you have a disadvantage. No, I took advantage of the situation and be like, you know what? This don't really mean nothing because my physical appearance is not my greatest gift. It's what's inside, who I am as an individual. So at the end of the day, this don't really mean nothing. We talked about the shades and the skins of the skin tone. Like I've been different my entire life. I know this don't matter because I represent so many different cultures and different ethnicities and different shades of skin tone. This don't matter. What really matters is who you are as an individual, how you showing up for others, how you actually treating others. Like humanity is like besides God is my second religion. Like humanity. I can't stress it enough. Just be a good person. Being kind don't cost a thing, and show up how you want to show up for others and how you want to show up in the world and be that change that you want to see in the world. And that's what I can just only say because I just know it's not easy because it takes a level of confidence, it takes a level of bravery, and it takes a level of just being on this mission wholeheartedly.
Yep.
It's easy to complain, but it's not easy to actually go out there and make change.
Absolutely. That is an amazing message. Because what you're putting out in the world personally and what everybody puts out in the world is going to come back around to you. And so be kind. Like you said, it
Yeah.
costs absolutely nothing to be
Nothing.
kind.
Yeah.
So tell our viewers all the platforms you're on and where they can find your books.
Yeah, thank you. So is that vitiligo guy? Let me spell it out. ThatVitiligoguy. Same spelling for Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook. You can find my books on Amazon, or you can go to my website, which is thatvitiligoguy.com. Merch, and everything else is there as well. You can see some of my new presentations that I'm doing, some of the stuff I'm doing in the media world. I got a couple of episodes coming out with some huge networks. Can't announce it right now, but you guys can check it all out on my social media links and stuff like that. And, you can find that vitiligo guy everywhere. And I'm just on a mission just to, change the world one person at a time to make the world a better place and be the change that I want to see in the world. And I always have this saying, smile and let your happy shine, and positivity over negativity.
Well, thank you so much. That's an amazing message. It's inspiring, like I said, for me and for everybody that has the pleasure of being in your presence. And hopefully you can come on as a guest in a cartoon and be a voiceover. I would love to have you.
Absolutely. And I love the cartoon too. And I love that what you're doing with the cartoon, because you don't see really too much representation or high level cartoons with people with differences or vitiligo. And now they put them in interesting places. Everybody's not a gamer. They put them in like games, but I think at a cartoon level where kids is actually in tune with, they need to see people with differences, you know, prosthetic leg or just, you know, vitiligo or just differences. And, you know, and so many people have differences. A lot of people just not open enough to say, hey, this is what's wrong with me. And I always say, man, listen, what sets you apart makes you different, and makes you unique, and makes you who you are. Because we
Yep.
all, if you look in the mirror, we always can find something that sets us apart. If it's our nose we don't like, if it's our eyes we don't like, if it's our lips we don't like. And it's one of them things. I actually wrote this song. It was like, hi, my name is James, the happiest man alive. Smile and let your happy shine. It's amazing to be alive. Now tell me what you love about yourself. Your eyes, your smile, your kind attitude. You're good at math. You know how to spell. You're a superstar in school. Now tell me what's cool about you. Now tell me what's cool about you. There's so much to love about yourself. Your hair, your nose, your heart made of gold. You're strong, you're brave. There ain't nothing you cannot face. I am James, the happy man. But who are you? Do you love yourself above all else? There's so much to love about you.
All right, I absolutely love
Yeah,
it. We might
yeah,
you know what, you got to come on the cartoon, and we're gonna have to have a conversation about that song and get
yeah.
your tattoo in there for sure. I would absolutely love that. And so, yes, thank you so much. Like I said, you're a huge inspiration. I'm so happy you took the time to sit down with me today. And
Absolutely, my pleasure.
congratulations on all of your things that you are doing, and spreading love and everything else. And so I know that this will not be our last time
Oh
talking.
no,
Um, but I'm so glad again to have you on the platform. Thank you so much for coming on and spreading your love and your joy.
thank you
Thank
for
you.
having me. I appreciate you. Thank you.